Hey everybody, welcome back to Run and Gun. I'm JT, and in this video we're going to talk about one of my favorite little cameras, and by little I mean this brick, this chonker, this Canon 5D Mark II. And is the Canon 5D Mark II still worth shooting on in 2023? Let's find out. So I can't talk about the 5D Mark II without telling a little story. This is the camera that really got me started into professional photography. When I was learning how to shoot manual mode and all that stuff, I started with a Nikon D80 or D90 and got to learn manual mode. And then when I decided to upgrade and buy my first DSLR, I actually sold my motorcycle to buy a Canon 5D Mark II. That was back in, geez, I think 2009. I'm pretty sure this camera was released in 2008. It was the latest, it was the greatest, it was the coolest thing on the market. This was one of Canon's flagship cameras. This thing was a beast. It was known for shooting absolutely gorgeous, smooth video. That 1080 24p was fantastic back then in 2009. Still fantastic now. And the portraits and the images, the landscape photos you could get out of this were fantastic. The biggest upgrade for me was that full frame sensor. That is why I sold my motorcycle to start really becoming a professional photographer and charging people for my photos and taking senior portraits, shooting weddings, engagement portraits, all sorts of things. The Canon 5D Mark II really jump-started my career. So enough with the sappy stuff. Let's talk a little bit about specs, a little bit about is it still worth shooting this in 2023? And we'll take a look at some pictures and some videos, obviously, so you can see with your own eyes, is this camera even worth shooting on today? So let's talk specs. The Canon 5D Mark II shoots 21.1 megapixels. There are still mirrorless cameras that are shooting 12, 16, 18 megapixels. So if you're gonna pick up a 5D Mark II, it will still absolutely crush all the photography needs you need for your Instagram, your little 2 megapixel Instagram photos, or your vertical TikTok 1080p videos. The 5D Mark II full frame sensor will absolutely take care of all of your photo needs, especially again if you're shooting for the web, Instagram, TikTok, Flickr, Twitter, Facebook. The color quality is great. It is known for amazing skin tones. I love shooting portraits with the 5D Mark II. This is the DSLR that made me a Canon fanboy for a long time. I shot this until it was going way out of style, but that's because the portraits were awesome. And they still are awesome. It's not like the sensor degrades over time. It's not like this camera got bad over time. I think as photographers, little side note here, we kind of need to get over ourselves and our need for gear and gear acquisition syndrome. All we want to do is we want to buy the latest and the greatest thing because XYZ influencer told us to. Well, how did Ansel Adams shoot amazing landscape photos 100 years ago on the technology that is now 100 years old? Well, that's because he is a great photographer. He didn't have the Sony AX4 Mark V, whatever. He didn't have the Canon EOS R5C 3PO. No, Ansel Adams had a large format film camera that he dragged around with him, and he developed his photos, and he made awesome photos and awesome images, made awesome images with what he had. And it's your job as a photographer to learn the tool. Imagine if Ansel Adams had a 5D Mark II or the newest Sony A7R 4, 5, whatever it is. Imagine what Ansel Adams could do with that. Imagine what you could do with a 20 megapixel sensor. Again, the sensors don't degrade over time, and you can still make amazing portraits. There's nothing holding you back other than yourself from making amazing portraits, which is what I like to take, amazing landscape photos, street photos, sports photos, car photos, whatever you want, the 5D Mark II can do it. Great full frame sensor. So if you're shooting on a smaller APS-C, micro four thirds, and you want to upgrade to a full frame sensor, the Canon 5D Mark II is a great option. Now, when it comes to burst mode, I'm going to go on a little rant here. Again, get good at shooting 1 frame per second. The 5D Mark II shoots 3.9 frames per second. So if I turn this guy on and I decide I want to put him in burst mode, which is called continuous, I can shoot 3.9 frames per second. And I can make sure that I'm getting that shot. For example, if I'm doing a panning shot, I am still in full control of my camera. I can stop at any time. I'm not machine gunning around praying that one of the 5 million photos I just took ended up in focus. I'm not filling up terabytes or tens or hundreds of gigs worth of photos on my card, again, spraying and praying. Don't do that. 3.9 doesn't sound like a lot, but you can hear it when I'm shooting. I miss that sound of DSLR. I have not shot on a DSLR in 5 years now, so a side note on a side note on a tangent, I miss the sound of a shutter. But anyway, I digress. 3.9 frames per second is more than enough if you're shooting sports. I've shot plenty of sports. I've shot NFL games with these. I'll actually put a couple photos, I think, throughout this video so you can see some of my recent snaps with the 5D Mark II. But the reason I'm actually making this video is because I pulled the 5D Mark II out of a storage box about 2 weeks ago, and I have not been able to put it down, along with the tactile sound. That sounds awesome. Along with the tactile sound of the shutter and the awesome ergonomics. I love how a full, solid DSLR feels in my hand. It doesn't feel like a mirrorless camera where my fingers are falling off the end of the grip. I can really grab this. I can really hold on to this and get some purchase on this camera. Feels great in the hand, it sounds great, and it has kind of rejuvenated my love for street photography and just going around and snapping photos. So let's talk about video for a minute here. The 5D Mark II was, again, a flagship when it came out in 2009, and nothing happens to these cameras where they suddenly start taking bad video. The 5D Mark II has always taken great video. It shoots full HD 1920 by 1080 at that smooth cinematic 24 frames per second. Again, that's one of the reasons I got this. I was using this in my film school classes. Instead of shooting on their junky little camcorders, I was making some of the best looking videos in my classes because I had the 5D Mark II. I'd usually throw on a little nifty 50 for that nice smooth shallow depth of field on that full frame sensor, and I was shooting some absolutely great stuff. I know we've all gone through that shallow depth of field phase, and the 5D Mark II was really where it was at for me with that full frame sensor, but you can easily throw on one of these and it's a great little filmmaking tool. It's great for your little TikToks or your reels. You just turn it sideways. As much as I hate shooting this vertical, no, turn your camera this way. As much as I hate shooting vertical, you can absolutely shoot like this if you want to. No converting from anything. Just go 1080, right to TikTok, right to Instagram Reels, right to that horrid vertical format. So 5D Mark II still cuts it for video today. Video still looks good and the photos still look good. So overall, I would say the 5D Mark II absolutely still works today. It still takes gorgeous portraits, can still take great cityscapes, landscapes, car photos, anything you can think of, you can do with the Canon 5D Mark II. So you can probably find the 5D Mark II for, I'd say, $200-300 on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, things like that. Pick yourself up a cheap little nifty 50, probably $100, and I would get a zoom lens as well to go with that, something like a 35 to 100, 28 to 105, whatever a nice zoom workhorse lens is that fits that middle range, something that you can kind of reach out with and something that you can take some wide shots with and go out there, make some great portraits, make some great photos, and pick up a 5D Mark II in 2023. And I think, especially if you're a beginner and you want to upgrade to that full frame, the 5D Mark II is where it's at. So thank you guys for joining me. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you make sure you're getting all of my videos. Turn on that bell and the little notification thing, turn on your notifications because YouTube doesn't always like to share my videos. So be sure you're getting notified every time I drop a new video. video. Give me one of those little like things wherever those are at, and until next time, get out and go shoot.